Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
This is our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
Also, check out our podcast below in the description.
All right, Middlecoff. Aldon Smith, somebody whose entire career we followed. We've seen every second of it. Niners, Raiders. Back again. Now a Cowboy. The early reviews, very positive. Mike McCarthy said Aldon Smith has been impressive thus far. Dak Prescott called him a monster. So the question is, with Jim Tomsula as his D-line coach, by the way,
Jimmy T.
is this guy really about to have one of the great comebacks in the history of sports?
Here's what is not disputable.
Who wins comeback player of the year if he leads the league in sacks?
And Alex Smith plays?
That's right.
I think you'd give it to Alex.
Okay.
Right? Because one was self-induced. The other guy, had his leg torn off.
All right, just checking.
Yeah, but I think that Aldon, here's the thing with our boy, is that I understand what Dak's saying, because when he gets off the bus, if you're Dak Prescott, right, you played in the SEC, you've been on the Cowboys now for a while, I would say he's probably one of the top 5 individuals when he just gets off the bus. Obviously, when you're at training camp, you just show up at the facility or whatever, just walk through the door.
When you get out of your Range Rover.
Yeah, you go, oh my God, look at that guy. You and I have stood next to him. He is a massive human being. To me, it's his length, right? When you're around Khalil Mack or I was walked by Von Miller at a joint practice, and my first thought was, it is crazy how good Von Miller is, and he's not that big.
Remember when we would go to Niners practices and you'd see, like, Navarro Bowman, right?
Yeah, he's not that tall. Aldon is humongous. And if he's in good shape, people forget this, but when Jimmy T took over, and it was ugly, the team was, but in training camp, Aldon was in phenomenal shape. And I vividly remember going to a practice probably a week before he got arrested and got cut, thinking Aldon's in the best shape of his life and he's unstoppable. And physically, he's everything every NFL team wants. And if he's cleaned up his life, like, his physical skills always translated, right? He's athletic, he's long, he's explosive, he's strong. He's just a natural feel for rushing the passer, right? Like, it's like, he only got one move. Like, no one's ever said that about us. Like, he can go in, he can go out, he can run you over. He can just physically do things like a center in basketball, right? When you watch a game with someone that doesn't watch basketball, and like your wife or your mom or whatever, I mean, your wife understands it, but like my mom's like, how's it? He doesn't even have to jump to get the rebound. Like, yeah, mom, he's 7'3". It's like Aldon and some guys that are really long can grab people when they're being blocked, like grab the quarterback. It's why we love arm length in football. Listen, I don't know anything about beside what we've read of changing his life, but it sure feels like people think that he really turned a corner, getting with Jay Glazer, working out, getting rid of alcohol. He is with the guy who does truly believe in him, right? And who saw all of his success as his defensive line coach in Jim Tomsula.
Yeah.
That you'd go, if he was ever going to turn it around in a place like Dallas, just say what you want about the Cowboys. Like, they do have a pretty high level team. Like, a lot of guys like, Jalen Smith on defense, Dak Prescott on offense. All their offensive line guys are very highly thought of. They don't have that. It doesn't feel like that many Van Der Esch, screw around type guys. Their coaching staff, Mike McCarthy's a pretty high level guy. And add Jim Tomsula with them, it actually might be the perfect spot, as crazy as it sounds, the Dallas Cowboys for Aldon Smith.
I mean, I think it's a great spot. I think a good team is a great spot for him. A team where he doesn't have to, where he's not the focal point, is a great spot for him. Remember,
do you think it helps that, like, there's less drama with Jason Garrett gone? It's just a new start for everybody,
yeah,
and it's just kind of new.
Yep, I do. So the year that he came, that he went to the Raiders, was 2015. Were you doing the Raiders postgame show that year? You were, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that was the first year you did it, because they played Cincinnati week 1 and got their asses kicked, remember?
And he played.
And he played, and I remember thinking early, he doesn't look ready to be on the football field. Do you remember that discussion? I bring up
they signed
him
on a Friday. He played on a Sunday.
But I don't mean just like physical shape. I mean watching him. I remember watching him at the time, going, maybe he's just tired. You didn't really know, but I just remember thinking, like, is he into this or not? Like, is he just here because somebody gave him a shot? Does he really want to be here? Is he totally okay? Like with his alcohol issue, you know what I mean?
Had a lot going on.
There was a lot going on. Now, the reason I bring up your Raiders stuff is because I don't really quite remember. by the end of that year, he had gotten better, right? Like,
well, one of his deals was he was always really comfortable on, like, they were moving him and Khalil around, and it was kind of screwing them both up.
right.
Aldon had never been a move guy. He had only played on the one side.
Yeah.
And Khalil had only played on the one side.
Khalil always played on the left, and Aldon always played on the right.
And then they were flipping him around. They were kind of changing defense. There was a lot going on. He had some moments just because he's so physically gifted. Remember, he sacked Ben Roethlisberger and knocked Roethlisberger out of the game in a game that Antonio Brown, it's still one of the greatest performances. It's an NFL record. I think it's the most yards from scrimmage for a wide receiver without a touchdown. It was like 297. Or it was some astronomical number. He had like 17 catches, 290 yards, but he didn't score a touchdown. But he dominated the game. I think Jarvis Landry threw him like the game-winning pass that led to the game-winning field goal. But Aldon did have this big sack on Roethlisberger, yanked him down. Remember, it kind of bent Roethlisberger back and like messed up his ankle or knee, and he kind of like wobbled off the field. So, and that was the last we'd ever seen it. Like, he hasn't been on a football field since then. Yeah. That's crazy to think about. That's a long time ago, guy. That was Jack Del Rio's first year in Oakland.
I know. It's 5 years ago.
That's wild.
5 years ago. We're coming up on the 5-year anniversary of that first game as a Raider. So
I do think it helps with a guy like him, too. At the time when Aldon was signed with the Raiders, it was one of the biggest NFL stories, right? Because he was one of the better players in the NFL. The Niners had cut him, which was one of the crazier moments of that training camp in the league. And then he signed by the Raiders. It was just a lot going on. Like, he was a main story. Right now, if you had to list like NFL stories right now, he's not even like a top 50 story. He's not even a top 10 story on his own team, right? New coach, quarterback, CeeDee Lamb.
Amari has got to put it together.
Yeah, I mean, Van Der Esch's neck. Like, maybe he's a top, like, he's probably a fringe top. But that just shows you on his own team that that helps to me. You know, he just gets to just kind of fly under the radar, just play, be a grunt with Jim Tom Sula, even though he's not a grunt type player, but just ease into the season. Like, I think when he first got signed, we talked about it. If I remember correctly, we're like, will he make the team? Like,
we did talk about that.
I feel like he's stone cold lock to make the team right now. Like, just how could you cut that human once you start seeing him play at practice if he's doing everything you're asking him to do and he's showing up on time and
he's in shape.
There was stuff that came out about the Niners, like him not showing up, and he kind of got the star treatment where he could kind of push the envelope, and part of it was clearly his off the field life was in shambles. And you're right, when the Raiders signed him, his life was only getting worse, and they just stopped football and it didn't work. And then remember when he got suspended, Del Rio was pissed, thought it was really unfair that he couldn't be around the team. He's like, and he kind of had some valid points. Like, you want us to like give a helping hand to these humans. And then even if you're going to suspend him, he's not allowed to come in and just be around us. The only like stability he has in his life. And it clearly took years because it got worse before it got better.
Remember, they kept him on the roster for what? I mean, he was a quote unquote Raider for another year, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I think 2. And remember, there was an arrest like a year and a half later where the TMZ said Oakland Raider, and they're like, well, he's not even on the team, and he hadn't even hit his low point in 15. I remember reading a quote maybe this summer of Aldon saying, I hit rock bottom in like late 2018, 2019. So he actually has turned around his life within the last calendar year, guy. And Jay Glazer's, I think, relationship with a couple coaches in this league, McCarthy, Sean Payton, is legit. Like, I think when they talk to him and he works out with these guys, because the other thing is Jay's around like Andrew Whitworth, like like he has other guys that you watch Hard Knocks, you just go, God, could Andrew Whitworth be like a head coach? Just could he be the commissioner of the league? Like, he's just a really high level guy. And I think when you
Didn't
get
Andrew Whitworth and Andre Smith dominate the Raiders in Aldon's debut?
Oh my God, destroyed him. It didn't. I mean, I think Andrew Whitworth, Andre Smith killed Khalil Mack, and Aldon only played, I think, like 15 snaps.
Yeah, he didn't play a ton.
But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to watching Aldon Smith. Like, that's a player. Like, I keep tabs on the Cowboys no matter what now. But I mean, that's one like, damn, what's Aldon doing?
No doubt.